it's like you're right. Like I found the fun and the play, and I've brought it into the school, and it makes a difference. Like these kids know that I'm excited to be there, and that they get excited to come to the classroom, and it's like that's pretty amazing to see that, because I know nobody wants to be there. Like none of the kids are looking forward to school every day, but if we can have a little break from all the work and have some fun and learn something that's really valuable, I think that can really go a long way and change some of these kids' lives.
Martin, how have you been, bro? Like, let's get it.
Dude, things have been really good over here. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've connected, but just trying to keep learning and having some fun and seeing what else happens in between. So it's been a good couple of years since I've seen you on the screen, besides on like Instagram and Facebook. We had a lot of fun, man.
We had so much fun, dude. And just like that's what I know about you is like a real friendly dude. Like, I don't know how friendly you are, but I mean, like, you seem like you like make a lot of friends. It's easy to talk to you, it's easy to communicate with you. Like, you're a teacher, aren't you? Like,
Yes, yeah,
that's right, right. Like, so
yes,
what that is that what you're doing right now? Is you're teaching, coaching?
yeah. Exactly. So I teach right now. I'm teaching full time. I'm doing gym and health. So that's been a big change. This is my first year doing that. I was teaching English for the last like 4 years. So this is kind of a big jump from English to phys ed and health. But I'm definitely enjoying the process now, and being in the gym playing some sports instead of the classroom has been it's been a lot of fun.
How have you liked the transition, bro? Because it seems like that is a huge transition.
It definitely is. It's interesting because sometimes I think about like some of the things we were able to do at my old school, and some of the activities and the ways that I was able to kind of bring coaching into the classroom. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was really exciting to kind of do that. I definitely don't miss like grading all the papers that these kids wrote and doing that kind of stuff. So you don't have to do that as much in gym, which is great. But I it's been cool. It's fun to kind of get to teach these kids how to like really use their bodies, and how to keep them healthy. And in the health class especially, it's been, I remember when I took health back in the day, and it was all about like, don't do drugs, and alcohol's bad for you, and smoking's
Yeah.
bad for you, and hygiene and that kind of stuff. And um, we didn't really go into that that much this year. Um, I've kind of been focusing more on the mental side of health, and kind of sharing with these kids that you already have it, and we're just trying to help you recognize that more and more often. So
Yeah.
it's totally different from any health class that I ever took, which I think is pretty cool.
So how has the coaching, because that's how we originally met, is
Yeah.
through coaching, things like that. How has that informed? Because it does sound like you have a different thing going, but how tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so really the whole thing, while I was doing my coaching training, and when we met, and all of these courses that I've done since that point, which was now probably about 5 years ago, the whole time I just kept thinking like, why didn't anybody talk to me about this stuff like when I was in school? Or like, why did I need to graduate college, go out of my way, find this coach training, pay him, like learn about this on my own? Why did I need to do all that? Why wasn't this like readily available to me? Especially like in times when I needed it the most, which was realistically probably high school. I mean, like elementary and middle school were like pretty good, and I was playing basketball, and things were going pretty well. But then as soon as I get to high school, I get cut from the football team. I'm on the basketball team, not really playing, and the reason was honestly because I was in my own way. I was in my own head on the basketball court the whole time, like just constantly scared. Like what if I dribble a ball and it goes off my foot? Like what if I have a turnover? What if I shoot and I miss? And like that's just not a recipe to have fun or to play a game at any level or anything at all. So my confidence was just at such a low point at that time, and it would have been so cool to have somebody come and talk to me about that, or to speak about that kind of thing, or where does confidence come from? It's not being, on the football team. It's not being the star of the basketball game or making a shot in a game. It's it comes from yourself. And um, I always thought that while I was doing all these trainings, like how can I get this to kids? So once COVID hit and I came back home to New York, I met with this principal, and we were kind of talking about what I was up to and this whole coaching journey that I was on. And she hired me like pretty much on the spot to become a substitute teacher at her school, because they needed, basically she was like, we need adults, and whatever you're up to sounds pretty awesome to me, so you're you're in. So she hired me as a substitute. And what was pretty funny was during that time I was in uh Creating the Impossible with Michael Neal, and my whole project was to make a program that I could bring into schools that revolved around these coaching ideas. And because I was substituting, I wasn't making the live calls. I wasn't really following up very much on like the videos that he was putting out. I really just wasn't fully like in the program. And so one of the last ones, uh, I I raised my hand and spoke to him, and I was pretty down on myself. I was like, like, oh, I wanted to make this coaching program, and because of school, like I'm not really, it's not even close to being done. Like I haven't really, gotten what I would have liked to in this CTI. And he just kind of gives me one of those Michael like slaps in the face, and, and was basically like, you're in schools with the kids that you want to make a program about, and you're getting paid for right now. Like, do you not see how good this could be if you if you look at it a little different? And so from that point forward, he that kind of phrase that he uses a lot, it was like nothing changed, but everything was different.
Yeah.
That was a big moment for me to kind of hear that. So I started bringing in more and more ideas and sharing it with the kids. And after that summer, I asked a principal at that school, I was like, hey, like, I really want to bring in this coaching program. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you need for me? And she's like, you got to hold off on that. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I think you need more time in the classroom, more experience. I was like, so what do you want? Like, what do you need for me? And she's like, you're going to be the English teacher this year. And I was like, whoa. And she was like, I know what you're doing and I know what you're up to. And it's like, it's amazing. But like, take the lessons from English, take the characters from the books, and talk about these ideas with them. And I was like, all right, I guess I could do that. And then she said, there's like you get to kind of create this thing. It's called a do now. So as soon as the kids walk into the room, they know that they have to work on this thing. So while the teachers get settled and whatever. So the thing that I came up with was, it was a journal, and I would pick a quote from a famous person, either like fiction or nonfiction or whatever. And the kids had to write 5 sentences about what it means to them. And so they would, it would be different people, like Harry Potter, LeBron James, like it would be like all over the place, like different, just famous people, different quotes. and these kids would just start writing about it. And I hear one of the kids, they were in fifth grade, and they have quotes from like all over the place. And one of the kids in fifth grade is like, man, these journals are so different. Like last year we were writing about like what's our favorite ice cream flavor, and now we're talking about like Gandhi.
Wow.
And it
That
was
kid's life was changed.
it was so cool to kind of like force them to kind of see this perspective, and they got so into it, like, and then like towards the end of the year they were bringing in quotes, and they would like research people, and we would do like themed weeks. So like May 4th was like Star Wars week, and we got like
Okay.
the NBA playoffs are coming up, so we would have like NBA players, and it was just like it was so fun to like to do that and to have all these famous quotes and people, and I would throw in a Michael Neal and a Sydney Banks quote here and there, and um, just kind of get them thinking. But the last day of school, these kids, I asked them, I was like, well, what was like the point of all this? Like, why do we do this every single day? And they came up with some ideas like, oh, like, it's like to be better writers or to be creative or to learn more. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty true. And like, did I ever like yell at you or tell you that your journal was wrong or that it wasn't good enough or that like you did something bad? And all of their eyes lit up. They were like, whoa, like you never said that to us ever. And they all had this like big realization, and I was like, yeah, because you guys can create this stuff, and you have like your own voice and your own opinion. And they were mind blown that last day of
Wow.
school. it was
That's
it was
that's blowing me away, dude. Like it's insane because we talk so much about how we as adults can move forward. And I've been oftentimes talking about how I'm going to be able to help my kids who 4 or 5 years old. But to hear that people are in high schools helping high schoolers, and you like, I agree with you. That was when I needed the most too.
Mhm.
Was I'm 10, ninth grade, I'm B team. I get out, I'm like, this isn't gonna work out. Too small. Basketball, it could have worked out. Really, I'm like not committed to it. Orchestra, not committed to it.
Yep.
And it's like nobody is talking to us about these things. And I get it. Maybe they didn't understand it. Maybe they didn't know it. But we now live in a time and a place where people like you are there. And the fact that they're learning it first they were learning it through English, but now that they're learning it through like a health class, I think is even more spot on, and something that potentially has the potential to catch wildfire. So how did the project turn out? And it sounds like the project is still going on.
It is, and it was funny because, like I said, like at that one point, it was probably like April of like 2021, I would say, when this was happening, when that project happened, when I met with Michael Neal, and he said that to me, and the creating impossible is like this program where you're supposed to make something impossible in like 4 months, or work towards it, or whatever it is. And I was super discouraged about it because I wanted to have this program done. And like you said, it's like probably 2 years since that started, 2.5 years or so, and it's still going on, and I'm still in the classroom, I'm still learning. But it's been so much fun to kind of like, I don't want to say use these kids because that's not the right word, but it's like we're all like exploring this idea together, and they're helping me create this program. And now it's been two totally different schools, because now this year I started at a new school, and that's why I switched from English to gym and health. And we're just kind of seeing what sticks and where the conversations kind of go, and just been a lot of like taking notes and figuring out different activities and different things, because I've learned pretty quickly that the kids, they want to have this sort of like ownership where they get to come up with some ideas. And the the different props or different things that I've kind of brought in and used has helped them get that a lot. I thought for a while it was like I needed the props because like the props helped them see stuff. So I was like asking all these like coaches and teachers and people like, what things can I do? Like, what do I need? What can I bring in to the help room to show them? And one of the dumbest, like not dumbest, but one of like the easiest things was I went to the dollar store and I bought these little plastic star glasses. It was like a 4 pack, and there was yellow, red, blue, and orange of these little plastic star glasses, like sunglasses. And so I put them on each table in the classroom, and I kind of explained them. I was like, when we see life through this like lens, and sometimes we remember things that happen and we remember it, and now all of a sudden it's happening a new time, but we remember what happened the last time, and so now we're going to see it through this lens. And the red sunglasses were like angry, like you had to see it. Why would you be angry about the situation? Like, what could have happened? What might you remember? And so what was so cool was like I gave them a scenario, and the first scenario was like, you your friend gets invited to a party. That was it. That was the scenario. And so each group, it was like the red sunglasses, why would you be angry about the situation? And then the blue ones were like, why would you be like sad? And then there was like yellow, why would you be happy about this? And then the other one was like jealous. And we kind of went around and they came up with all these stories like, you might be jealous because maybe you weren't invited to the party the last time and you didn't get invited, or you might be happy because you already were invited and now your friend's invited too. And they just came up with this whole thing. And I was like, so like, do you see how we like bring up stuff from the past and start to experience it again? And it was just so cool to kind of see them like buy into it. These kids are seventh grade, so they act all tough and cool, and they're obsessed with these little plastic star sunglasses.
Oh man, this is epic. This is so epic. Okay, so Michael Neal, where we met each other, where we
Yeah.
PTI, what you're talking about. I don't know how he gonna feel about this comment, but we go chat about it for a second. I 1000% believe that his goal is not to produce coaches, but to help people enjoy what they're already doing. Right? Like it's one thing to be a coach and to help people out. It's a totally different thing to learn about the way we operate and then to help kids like teenagers in the most pivotal time in their life when they're going through the most. Like I have a homeboy, he's doing the same thing with his 14-year-old daughter. It's like they're having different kinds of conversations because this unlock happened. And to
Mm.
see that, like, oh my God, your CTI project, not only were you discouraged, because like I think everybody gets a little discouraged about
Yeah.
how am I supposed to make the impossible happen in 3 weeks or 3 months, 4 months. And like to see 2 weeks later, like just the way you're lit up about this. And I would love to, and I know what your supervisors were saying, right? The principals, they're saying, in 5, 6, 7 years, you will then have the data because these kids will be in college, they'll be in the workforce. You will be able to then say, this is what we've been able to see in what we've
Mm-hmm.
done. And so it's just so cool to know that like anywhere on your climb to your summit, right? Like it could look one way or another way, but look, it's still happening. The game's on.
The key. That's so true. I appreciate you saying that because it didn't feel like that at all. Like I said, like I was going in as a substitute and I was just discouraged. Like I was just miserable. And I was like, what am I doing here? And the worst, honestly, the worst part was that I had this golden opportunity literally right in front of my eyes. I would show up to this school every day and as soon as I got there, they would tell me where they wanted me to go. So I would get there. This was like peak, not peak COVID, but this was like if you came in contact with somebody, then you had to go quarantine for like 10 days. This was
Oh,
2021. So teachers were dropping like flies. Like every day there was a teacher absent. And it was insane,
it's a
honestly, like
crazy time.
what was happening. So so I would go to the school and they'd be like, all right, second grade teachers out, you're going to second grade. Next day, eighth grade teachers out, you're going to eighth grade. Next day, kindergarten's out, you're going to kindergarten. So I knew every single kid in the school. I worked with every grade, and I had such an awesome opportunity to test out some of these ideas and work with them and bring some of these things to life. And unfortunately, the worst part was like for 4 months, I was just kind of miserable that I was like working and not working on my project.
Oh,
And once that conversation happened, like you said, nothing was changed, but everything was different. And that's when the experiment is starting to happen.
man, it's just like I'm thinking about your experience and how like my experience and anybody that I talk to's experience. And that's kind of how it like happens, isn't it? Is like we're discouraged about one thing, and that one thing that we're discouraged about, the reason why we're discouraged about it is because we just can't see that like that different angle or that different perspective. And so it's really cool hearing about how that perspective changed for you, man. It's like I don't even know how to put how cool it is, man. Like I'm excited and I want to like go out and because you know what? I think this is it. My CTI project was I wanted to become like this podcaster that did, you know, I don't like it was so long ago, I can't even like describe like exactly what I wanted to do. And it was like impossible in 4 months. But what I'm recognizing is like, just like your journey, just like your trip, dude, it's like I've been so discouraged oftentimes about something not working. I haven't reached out to the people who I want to reach out to. It's like right now, like you and I are literally just catching up. I literally want to know what the heck you've been up to. That's it. And people have been telling me for years, bro, why don't you just record the conversations? They're gold. I'm like, nah, bro. I like walking around on the phone. I like doing my own thing. And it's like, no, like, bro, you are putting in the world exactly what it is that, like, I would assume Michael Neal is wanting us to do, right? He's wanting us to take the knowledge that we have received and then to multiply it in some way. And
Mhm.
not all like it's like somebody told me once, bro, it was like, yo, Danny, you learned this when your kids were so young. I can't wait to see what happens with your kids when they get older.
That's really cool.
Kids are learning about this at what's 12, 13, 14 from you in this very like, I don't want to say abstract way because it's not necessarily abstract, but it's in this very like indirect, but like indirect from them, but from you, it's very direct. But from the way they see it, it's like this indirect approach. And it's like this loving approach to parenting that like people are like, yo, it works. You have to apply it. And so I'm just so excited to hear all the things you're doing, dude. It's just like this is almost cooler than spitballs of wisdom, dude. I'm just gonna be 100 with you.
And that's pretty funny because that's really where you probably don't remember, but Spitballs of Wisdom was two questions, and basically, like I would invite people on. It was on Facebook Live, and I just recorded it. And basically, the two questions were like, "What is something you wish you knew when you were younger?" and "What's something you wish schools were teaching?" And it was just totally directed towards having coaches and parents. I wanted to learn from their perspective what to do with these kids. But once I got into the schools, it was like, oh, that's the perspective I really needed. Like there were some awesome conversations that I had based on those two questions. Like
Yes.
some cool people, including yourself, were on there. Like great conversations. But I was looking, almost not looking in the wrong place, but like I needed to be in the school to start to see what was working. And so I
Yeah.
took a lot of these conversations, took a lot of the information, and was like, all right, now I have some ideas, but like now I need to bring them into the classroom and I need to see how we can make this work so kids understand it. And sometimes it works for one class and then it doesn't work for the next class. And that's been kind of fun to experiment with as well.
Programs like No Kid Left Behind, they test these programs out on very small, minute populations, and then they put a lot of money behind them, and then they don't work in a larger scenario overall.
Mm-hmm.
We do need to put in more research before some of these programs can actually work. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you are getting to know exactly how it worked for you puts you in a great place to become a facilitator later down the line to keep working this out, because I can't even imagine what's going to happen for our country if we start implementing more programs like this. So I actually had a YouTube video that came out not too long ago about how we as Americans, our school systems are so low in the world, right? Like 36, 26, 36, something like that. Just crazy. Maybe you know a little bit more about that. And I was kind of like, well, what can we as parents do? Because I'm a parent, I'm not a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I just recognize there are things that I could do, but it's beautiful to hear that there's things you could do. What are your thoughts about that?
I heard this great line. I don't remember where it came from, if it was Tony Robbins or if it was somebody, but basically the thing was they were like, oh, like if we were able to find somebody from like the year 1900, right? So and we show them like an iPhone, and we're like, look at all this cool stuff. Like we have, Spotify, we can listen to any music we want. You could search for anything, any question you possibly have. You could call somebody that lives on the other side of the world. Like you could do all these amazing things. They would be like absolutely mind blown of like what we're capable of doing. And then he says, and if you brought that same person into a classroom, they would look around, they'd say, wow, the blackboards are white now. And that's like the only thing
Wow.
that's changed in the classroom.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. We still teach the same way.
The
There's
same
one
stuff. They're
teacher. Yeah.
probably reading the same books. Like, it's like,
How to Kill a Mockingbird.
yeah,
I mean, great book, but there's nothing better out by now. Jeez.
like, wow, damn, you guys are still reading Shakespeare? Like, come on, nobody's come along since that guy.
That's it. Yeah, that's it, man. So what, like, as a teacher in the schools, seeing these kind of things happen, what would you say for a parent like me, as somebody that's raising kids, putting kids in school?
Yeah, I think it's developed really good relationships with the kids, and starting to ask questions that are not just like, how's your day going? Because that was like, my parents, and I love them. Like they were amazing to me and like so good. But like the same conversation happened at dinner, and it was like, how was school? Good. How was school? Good. That was like the whole thing. But then, we started to get closer and develop better conversations. And, now even with my sisters and my parents, like we like get deep into it when it comes to, relationships and, what's going on in the world. And, we're not afraid to kind of be truthful to each other, because we know, like, even if we disagree, like we have each other's backs. So
Yeah.
I think that just having those types of conversations is like so valuable, and just kind of just like checking in, because what I'm seeing a lot, and what really helped me, was knowing that everyone's doing the best that they can, like based on
Right,
what they're
right.
thinking right now. And so I see a lot of these kids, and now that I've been at this school for a year, it's like some of these kids are driving me nuts. And like, I'm like, why are these kids like cursing in school? Like, why are they doing this like type of stuff? Like, why are they behaving like this? And I kind of see now that I've met their parents, I'm like, oh, I spent an hour with your dad and he's dropped the F bomb like 12 times. Like, so now I kind of get why you're dropping it in health class. Like, it's and so it's kind of having that understanding, and it's like, okay, if they're doing the best that they can, like what can I do to make that like as good as possible? How can I make them as comfortable as possible? And that's really changed a lot of what I've seen. And I've also seen where there's a couple of kids I could think of right off the top of my head where the parents are so strict at home that they come to school and that's like their release. And it's like, oh, okay, I know like I'm not going to get in as much trouble here as I would at home. So now I could act out and now I could be crazy. And and then the dad shows up to the basketball game and the kid like straightens up and he's so
Not
it's
the
like
same.
not the same, not even a little bit. And it's like, oh, that's an interesting perspective to notice. And I think it's good to be strict at home, but if that's how your kids are acting when they're not at home, it's like, oh, like what's going to happen when they go to college and they're finally away from you for, months at a time? Like, how are they going to act then?
Yeah, bro. Yes, yes, yes. All great stuff, dude. So before we get off this thing, I know you got the Spark, you got a Spark program, right? Like the donation. What like tell me about
Yes.
it. Tell me what's up with
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So I I really wanted to kind of get some resources. So basically I came into the health class and they gave me this binder that they used as their curriculum. I think it was called Second Step. And it was all about mental health and it was like pretty cool stuff, a lot about bullying, a lot of different activities and stuff. But I wasn't like fully connecting with it, to be honest. And neither were the kids. And I could tell from like a mile away that these kids are not really interested. So I wanted to figure out a way to bring in something that I could connect with and something that I thought would be really beneficial. So on my birthday, I started this fundraiser. I see so many people doing that on Facebook now, like donate to this cause or whatever. So I started a GoFundMe to raise money to buy Mavis Karn's It's That Simple book that came out in January, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
So the goal was to raise $2,000. So if I got to $2,000, I would be able to buy It's That Simple for every kid in the middle school. So that's sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And I would be able to buy the Spark program. So the Spark program is something that it's basically designed that we have a very similar idea, and I've actually connected with them, and I've ran like a webinar for them, and I'm close with Ashley and Brooke who run that program. And so I wanted to bring in their preteen program into the health classroom and run some of their ideas. And it's the same really sharing. So a lot of friends and family and people donated. I got up to like a little bit over $1,600. So I was able to get the books for the seventh and eighth grade. That was the first step. And then I also was able to get the Spark program. So the sixth grade doesn't have the books at the moment, but it was definitely a successful little thing that we ran, a fundraiser, and it was just so cool to get the books for these kids. And we've been kind of going through it. Like we've read The Secret from Mavis. That's the first letter in the book. If you don't know that, you could definitely search that up on Google, and The Secret comes up, and it's it's really good to check that out. And we've just been having conversations. Something I've been doing is having them either like draw or like write something about the letter and like try to explain it to even younger kids. And so that's been a kind of cool little exercise that they've been going through. And um, it's just been really exciting to bring in these kind of 3P ideas and this idea that you already have mental health. We just kind of lose touch with it. And sharing that with these kids has been really special.
This conversation's been real special, bro. Like, oh my gosh, what you're doing with the kids and then this initiative, that book is epic. The note that you're talking, oh my God, it'll blow you out of the water. I'm definitely gonna put a little link to that or something up here so that people know about that as well. Because just everything that you're talking about is exactly like my wheelhouse. Like I want this just not, I mean, not just America, but the world, bro. I want us
Mhm.
to move in this direction where we're experiencing the joy of being where we are. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what you just discussed, right? Is like we didn't pre-plan this, but like it was amazing to hear just how you transitioned through those different like areas of your life, and now you are where you are and you're in your happy place. And I know there's challenges that come with it. I know there's hardships. I know like how kids can be, they're cussing in your face like ah. So like all those things come with it. So it's not sunshine and rainbows, but the moment that you recognized that it wasn't the pot of gold at the end, but each step was lined with goal, I hear it in you, man. And you sound more excited now than you did about Spitballs of Wisdom. And you were
Yeah,
excited about that. So,
that's a really good point, and that's it's cool to hear people like noticing it. And I mean, the other one we've spoken about, Spitballs of Wisdom, but the other podcast that I ran was called the Entrepreneur Playground, and it was all about this idea of like how can you bring fun and play into business. And honestly, right now I'm not even doing as much like of my coaching, my entrepreneurship um stuff, but it's like you're right, like I found the fun and the play and I've brought it into the school, and it makes a difference. Like these kids know that I'm excited to be there, and that they get excited to come to the classroom. And it's like that's pretty amazing to see that, because I know nobody wants to be there. Like none of the kids are looking forward to school every day. But if we could have a little break from all the work and have some fun and learn something that's really valuable, I think that can really go a long way and change some of these kids' lives.
heck yeah, bro. Martin, thank you so much, dude. Like, just thank you for like dropping in. Thank you for
Yeah.
thank you for showing what a CTI project looks like 2 years later. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like there's so much good stuff in this. Like, keep climbing towards your personal summit. This is great.